Hello Legacy students. Today we're going to look at writing equations into standard form. You're going to want your notes, pen or a pencil, and then a calculator, possibly today just to do some simple division or multiplication. Your learning goals. I can rewrite a linear equation in standard form, and then also you can rewrite an equation in standard form into slope-intercept form. So we're going to kind of go back and forth a few times today. Some vocabulary, the standard form of a linear equation. We've looked at this when we were looking at intercepts, but basically it's an equation that has the form of ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are all numbers. Now, they have a little bit of criteria though, where a cannot be negative. Now, why is that? Not really sure. Can't find a good information or why that is the truth, but it is a rule that is had, and none of the numbers, so A, B, or C, are fractions. So we can't have any fractions at all in our answers at all today. So it's going to look like ax plus by equals c, so basically x and y are on the same side, and then a can't be negative, and we can't have fractions in our final answer. So let's try a couple of examples. I have this equation, y equals negative 3/7 x plus 5, and I need to write that in standard form. Now, your standard form, again, remember, is x plus y equals some number, right? With some numbers probably in front of the x and the y. So what I always do first is I'm going to get the x and the y to the same side. Don't worry about the fraction attached, just kind of take him along for the ride. We'll deal with him in a little bit. So I'll add 3/7 x to both sides. So I'll get 3/7 x plus y equals 5. Now, here's when it comes into play. You can't have a fraction there. What you're going to do is you're going to want to multiply both sides by the denominator of that fraction. And if there's multiple fractions in the problem, you're going to want to multiply by the largest denominator in that problem. So I'm going to multiply by the largest denominator, which is 7. But you can't just multiply over here. You're going to multiply it to everybody. Kind of like you got to distribute it to everybody, like we add to both sides. So I'm going to get 21 over 7x plus 7y equals 5 times 7, 35. Now, 21 over 7, that's the same as 3x. And now I have written it into a wonderful standard form equation that has no fractions, and my a, or the number in front of x, is not negative. Let's try another example. So I have this equation, y minus 2 equals negative 1/3 x plus 6. And I need to write that in standard form. Very first thing I would do is I'm going to distribute that 1/3 in, so I get rid of those icky parentheses. So I'll get negative 1/3 x minus 6 over 3, which is 2, right? 1/3 of 6 is 2. Now, let's get this thing over to the other side, because I need the number over there, right? So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Well, it looks like that's going to cancel out, and so is that. So I'm just going to be left with negative 1/3 x. But x and y need to be on the same side. So let's get him to the other side. So I'm going to add him over there. Move over here. 1/3 x plus y equals, well, nothing, so just 0, right? Well, remember, can't have a fraction, so let's multiply by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by 3, but not just to him, to everybody. So 1/3 of 3 is just a plain old 1. 3 times y is 3y. 0 times 3, just plain old 0. So I have my equation, 1x plus 3y equals 0. Now, let's go the other way. I have x minus 2y equals negative 6 written in standard form, and I want that to be written in slope-intercept form, because sometimes you want to be able to find the slope of our equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for y, which we've done before, but let's just make sure we know how to do that. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. I'm going to be left with negative 2y over here. I'm going to have negative x minus 6. So now let's divide by negative 2 on both sides. So cancels out over here and we left with just a y. Then let's break that out. So I got negative x over negative 2 plus a negative 6 over a negative 2. Because he got to go to both of them. Well, when I have this, technically there's a 1 right here. So we can kind of put that x down to the bottom. So I have negative 1 over negative 2, which is just 1/2. And then that x just kind of sit there and kind of hang out. Then I have negative 6 divided by negative 2. Well, that's just positive 3. So I have solved my equation for slope-intercept form. Now, these are exactly the same equation. There's no difference. They're just written in two different ways. And that's the end of this video. See you later, Sabers.